Awesome.
Cool.
So that signifies that we are beginning our session for day 3 of the Paying Forward series. First and foremost, I want to take a moment to acknowledge all the amazing speakers from the past 2 days. Shout out to Isla and Leah from Riqueza and also Soul Sessions. We've had a really awesome conversation for the past 2 days in relationship to self-reflection and journaling and then money mindset. And so today's focus is going to be on mental health and wellness. But before we jump right into all of that, thank you so much for all of our guests today joining us today. This is the first time joining in our series. The focus of this series is to foster an environment where we can create a shared knowledge-based support for our community. Being myself as a first-gen Latina and a lot of members of my community, there's oftentimes conversations that we have where we feel like we're often marginalized from spaces to create awareness of what's going on both here in Chicago or just across the globe. So I wanted to create this series where I have a lot of amazing friends and connections in my network where I know we are doing amazing things that we can oftentimes pay forward to our own community. So that's the mission behind this series, and also to honoring Women's History Month as well. So a lot of the women here are also identify as women or Latinx or brown or Black folks. So thank you so much to all of our speakers joining us this month in the series. A little about myself, like I mentioned, my name is Juana. I'm a first-gen Latina. I've been doing events now for about 8+ years. I consider myself an event strategist. I love doing events both virtually and in person, and my passion is to promote positive impact and inclusivity within these spaces. A quick little shout out to our sponsors who supported us through this whole series. Big Meech. If you are local here in Chicago and you love to drink micheladas, I highly encourage you to check them out in our local stores. You'll find them within the west and south side of Chicago, and they'll also be present on our day of events on Friday.
Exciting.
Also, Yesis Dulces for supporting us and providing us homemade crafted candies who have a mixture of that authentic spicy flavorness from our Mexican roots. Just she'll also be present here on the event on Friday. And of course, Topo Chico for also providing us an amazing refreshments for our non-alcoholic drinks. And then last but not least, for Christopher, who is also supporting us and providing us resources for photography a day of, but also too, he has his own boutique consulting firm supporting businesses and digital marketing. But thank you again so much to all of our sponsors. And now to begin our amazing session, Radiance Reimagined, a mental health seminar powered by Self-Loved. Thank you just so much to our co-founders here, our co-owners, I would say, Sam and Lady. Again, thank you so much for being part of this and saying yes to being part of this session. I want to now offer the floor to you both. So I'm going to stop sharing screen.
Thank you so much. We'll start sharing our screens.
One moment while we configure.
Awesome.
Everything being shown.
Everything looks okay.
All right. Wonderful. Well,
all right, well, let's kick it off. Okay, so for those of you who didn't hear, I'm Lady.
And I'm Sam, and this is Radiance Reimagined. This is what we've come up with for this presentation today. We're really excited to be here, and we want to thank everybody who's here, and also Juana for inviting us to be part of this amazing series of just incredible women doing incredible things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sam and I are, again, the co-owners of Self-Loved, which we started about a couple years ago, but we'll get into that. Again, yeah, thank you so much for being here. Let's kick it off. Yeah. Okay. There we go. So we want to give you a little bit more of an in-depth explanation as to who we are and what we do. Self-Loved is a coaching practice here in Chicago. We focus on self-image, self-confidence, self-discovery, anything to do with the self. Sam and I founded Self-Love with a shared vision of offering accessible support resources for our community, but as well for people or individuals who are seeking clarity and confidence in their life path.
Yeah, so to expand a little bit more on our why for the company that we started, is we've both kind of landed on the same conclusion that we feel like when people feel unhappy, when people feel unfulfilled, it usually is due to some sort of not living in alignment with who they really are at their core. And can be for a variety of reasons. The experiences we have, how we infiltrate them, the pressure we feel from society to be a certain way, or our families, so on and so forth. And so we really wanted to help people step into the parts of themselves that they identify with the strongest and find the truest, most authentic versions of themselves. So, as coaches, what that means is we help people clarify what their ideal life looks like, and then we aid them in the process of developing an action plan and staying accountable to that to really make their dreams come true and to live a confident and expressive life. So, yeah.
That being said, we want to open up with a quote that really resonates with us and one that is featured on our own website. It's a Rumi quote. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you've built against it. It's very self-explanatory, but lends itself a lot to what we do and the conversations that we have with our clients and with ourselves. So if you have any thoughts or comments on it, please drop it in the chat, or if you have any quotes that resonate with you as well, we would love to see those. Yeah. Okay, Sam, so tell them what we're talking about today.
Lots of good stuff on the agenda. We are going to be talking about the community support piece and what it means to us as a business to pay it forward. We're going to discuss what intersectionality is and how that relates to mental health, and then tie it all together with burnout and self-care. And so we'll end with a little guided meditation where you all get to just take it in and receive. And then we'll cap it with a time for people to ask questions in case you want to know anything more about us.
Yeah, you're welcome to drop any questions or comments in the chat throughout, but we won't probably see them until the end. So we're happy to save that for the little question portion. Yes. Okay, so we're going to start with community support and paying it forward, which is a big reason why we're all here today. And I'm so excited for this show of community support right now. Let's see. Community support. Community support is something that offers us, or communities in general, offer us safe spaces for growth and connection. A lot of what we do lends itself to building community. As you can see in the photo provided, that is one of our workshops. So we do collaborative workshops from time to time, and the one in the photo is one we did with Kiera Brown, who is a local art therapist and a great friend of ours. Yes. The topic in question was body image through art expression. And that was such an incredible experience, not just from the perspective of our business, but just as people. Yeah, the chance to grow and learn alongside others is more payment than we could have asked for.
Right.
Having these strong communities helps keep us accountable to ourselves, to our personal health, and to our why, which Sam talked about earlier.
Right. And this whole community that we created helps support us in our mental health journeys, and we recognize and value the role that community plays in that. We don't heal by ourselves, we heal with each other, and emphasizing that is really important to us.
Yeah, a large portion of the reason we started Self-Love is because we understood that having these kinds of conversations, having these kinds of communities is not one that we've always had. I understand that in our homes, in our friendships, in our relationships, these are not conversations that are always being had. And it was very important to us in the conception of self-love that we include community in those conversations, and that we let people know that it's beyond us.
Yeah.
That it's about building a community for yourself.
And so when we think about this paying forward, what does that mean? We thought about what it meant for us. And the first thing that we came up with is something we're really big about is not gatekeeping information. So what gatekeeping is the intentional withholding of information, knowledge, access, or opportunity. And so I have spent the better part of my career working in the mental health system in hospital settings. And after a while, I became frustrated in noticing that people are hearing about these topics related to their mental health for the first time when they're getting admitted into the hospital. at a level of crises. And it became really evident to me that these are conversations that need to be part of our everyday life, a part of our everyday conversations that we have with our families, with our friends, and the people around us within our communities. And so we have a podcast that we've started. It's the Self Love Podcast. That is one way that we share and discuss these different topics. We also offer community events. You can see another picture. This you can peek Juana in there.
But this was a movement-based workshop that we did where we talked a lot about the physical body, body image, insecurity, and connected with other women in a space that was just really safe and welcoming.
Yeah. And so we are hoping to be part of this process of bridging that gap between mental health and wellness and self-exploration, because they are one in the same hair strand, right? Or one in the same braid. And we want to building business is more than just building business. We're doing this through building our community and building our network. And it all kind of goes hand in hand. And it's exciting.
We're here, women helping women.
We're about it.
Yeah, come on. All right, moving into our next topic. We want to talk about intersectionality and mental health. I recognize that is maybe something that you've never heard before, and for me, up until much recently in my life, I hadn't either, at least not in this language. So before we jump into exactly how it connects to what we're talking about, let's talk about what it is. Intersectionality is a sociological and analytical framework for understanding how groups and individuals' social and political identities result in unique combinations of discrimination and privilege.
Yes. So why is that important? It's intersectionality that helps us explain the diversity and the uniqueness of our own life experiences. So it acknowledges that everybody has multiple different identity markers, and because of that is subject to various experiences or oppression or discrimination because of those things. So when we're using the language identity markers, I know that's not like everyday language that we use. What does that mean? And that can be anything related to our gender, our sexuality, our race, our ethnicity, our immigration status, our age, our socioeconomic status, religion, body size, education, so on and so forth.
Anything that we use to personally identify ourselves count as an identity marker. So all of us here today identify as women. Right. That is a large identity marker that definitely has place in intersectionality within our mental health.
Because we are women, we've experienced certain life, certain oppression, certain experiences that people who do not identify as women would not experience. And we can go on so forth and so on with that same concept, right?
Okay, so we want to highlight how intersectionality informs what we do with self-love. We understand that the tools of oppression offer us the opportunity to not use them so that we can dismantle them. We may not be able to fully understand other people's experiences, but we are able to create the safe spaces and offer the resources for them to fully be themselves.
Right. And so at its core, really intersectionality means that we all are unique. We all have our own life experiences that create who we are. And that is what our mission is about at Self Love. We celebrate this. In fact, we're really actually all about people stepping into those parts of their identities that maybe they have been discriminated against for, or felt certain waves of oppression about, stepping into those, being proud of those, and being fully authentic in who they are so that they can feel fulfilled in the lives that they live, rather than shrinking ourselves, shutting those parts of ourselves down because maybe we didn't feel like they were accepted in the spaces that we are in. And so we seek to address the disparities in the mental health care system through this offering the accessible resources and building the community within our workshops and within the content we put out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Yes, so with that being said, we want to maybe offer a little example of our own identity markers, and even one that even before we were doing this, was expressing to Sam right on cue, was expressing my own frustration and my experience with looking for therapy as a Latina woman. It is not easy to find a therapist of color, and especially one that'll take your insurance, especially one that is within your community or has an understanding of or an opening for a space that is, again, safe and welcome. It is, I'm sure a lot of you in the room, especially as women, have had a similar experience in therapy, or maybe even as Black and Brown folk here in the community. Those are the pieces that make tackling mental health and having those conversations really difficult. It can be incredibly demotivating to face these identity markers from that perspective. It can be very difficult to want to, to put yourself fully out there when you feel like there's not space for it.
Right. And so today, in this group of women that we have, and also a lot of women entrepreneurs, a lot of women who are influencers doing their thing, trying to make names for themselves, trying to make a purpose in their communities, we want to talk about some of the barriers that come from that. So, fun little stat that probably isn't going to be of surprise to anybody. It's a little disheartening. But when we're looking at intersectionality and we're talking about being a woman entrepreneur, let's start there. First, entrepreneurs are of one of the most groups of people that are susceptible for burnout.
Absolutely. You guys all know what it is to do the double hustle, to work the 9 to 5 and show up and do your work and come home and have another thing. Or maybe you're coming home and you're full-time mom, or after working your own,
you're trying to create content for your social media, so on and so forth. So then we add in the piece of not just being an entrepreneur, but being a woman entrepreneur. And the stat is that about 48% of women struggle with that high expectation of being a business owner on top of their day-to-day responsibilities. And with that, they show that women are more prone to experiencing burnout than their male counterparts who are also entrepreneurs. So our question is,
why is that? Yeah. If you have any ideas, definitely drop it in the chat, because there are a lot of different ways to answer this one.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our own. But we all know that women, we're pegged to be the people pleasers. We're raised to be to put others before ourselves. We're often taught that we're not as important as we should be. That
right, and not to mention, for a lot of history, women didn't work. They couldn't vote. Like, we've had to overcome a lot of steps to even be able to be seen as people who can be entrepreneurs. And so understanding that being a woman entrepreneur holds a different type of weight than a male entrepreneur and puts us at more risk for burnout means, what do we got to do to take care of ourselves, and how do we manage this, knowing that this is an extra added component and struggle in our process?
Absolutely. So with that, we kind of want to transition into burnout, right? Because now we understand a little bit more about where we're coming from, about how this kind of comes to be, but let's maybe take it a little bit more internally. Burnout is a state of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion brought on by prolonged or repeated stress. There are tons of different stressors that can contribute to this, and I want to emphasize that it's incredibly individual. Your finances, your health, your job, your personal relationship, even being a parent are just a few examples of the things that contribute to burnout.
Right. If you're at the end of the day, though, it comes down to the stress. Being under a high, long, prolonged period of stress is what creates burnout. And so what do we do about this? How do we know it's happening, and what does it look like? And so there are a lot of different ways we can identify a burnout, and here are the few that we've seen that are most common. And the first one of those is, we see when that mental self-talk starts to get really negative and really critical inside your brain. You know what I'm talking about? We're going on with all those, you should have done this isn't good enough, and it's nothing good. When we see that creeping in, that's usually a sign that I'm impending burnout. The second one is feeling lack of motivation or satisfaction. So the things that you usually would fire you up and you're excited to do, you don't feel really motivated to do them anymore. Or after you do the things that you usually like to do, it doesn't feel good. I'm not satisfied by it anymore. Then the third one is we start seeing a lot of changes in our habits in the way that we're moving about our day to day. And so this can show up in difficulty sleeping and not being able to do our exercises the way we would. Our diet might go to shit. We might start drinking more alcohol to cope in these times. And so you see the healthy habits and routines start to spiral downward. These are the three major signs that we see of burnout. But what I want to emphasize is that everybody's burnout looks different. And so what's most important is that you know what your burnout signs are. And that might take a little bit of self-work to get to that point to understand that. But for example, I know I'm impending burnout when I start fantasizing about a 2-week hibernation. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to see anyone. I just want a break from the world around me. And that usually is telling me, okay, you're feeling overwhelmed. You have too much on your plate. You need to give back to yourself in some way. You need some rest, whatever it be.
Call that the turtle shell.
The turtle shell.
You just wanna,
Yes.
And then for me, I gotta say, like, being sick physically, burnout can manifest itself in physical symptoms. And I know that when I've pushed it too hard, my immune system is shot. I'm probably going to get some kind of flu, a sinus infection, a really bad migraine, something of that sort is going to start rearing its head when I really just need some rest.
Mm-hmm.
There are a few other things that we'd like to list, maybe some other ideas on signs that burnout could look like for you. So what about if it's hard to get out of bed in the morning?
Or you're having a hard time focusing on anything or being present.
You're falling behind on deadlines and tasks at work.
Yeah. Questioning the value and importance of what you're doing, not feeling excited or good about it anymore. Can also look like just having prolonged high levels of stress, not feeling like you're able to cope with what's going on around you.
Brain fog is another big one for me, not fully being able to concentrate on a singular task or even maybe on a personal conversation you're having with someone. Your brain is just going in a lot of different directions.
You might have high levels of irritability, like you're snapping at everyone, everyone's pissing you off, you can't handle it.
Yeah.
So it can look really different. And so we really invite you all to maybe start noticing, when am I reaching that level of exhaustion? When am I at this point where it's like, I feel like I'm doing everything. And when you feel like you're not getting much in return for that, it's time to look at, what do I do about that? And that's where self-love comes in.
We wouldn't be self-loved if we didn't talk about self-love,
Right.
because it kind of lends itself to all of this. Self-love is a state of appreciation for yourself that grows from actions that support your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. It encompasses not only how you treat yourself, but also your thoughts and your feelings about yourself. I'm going to offer another quote that I really love from Miss Queen Maya Angelou. The real difficulty is to overcome how you think about yourself. I want to highlight here that most of us in this room, or this virtual room, know who Maya Angelou is, and I know personally I view her as being quite the confident figure.
Mm-hmm.
And it is incredibly impactful to me when you hear something like that coming from someone you quite look up to. We all are going on the journey with ourselves to figure out how to love yourself, to figure out how to take care of yourself. This is all a part of our journey.
Right. And so we can't have self-love without self-compassion. And self-compassion is being that kind person to ourselves, being the friend to ourselves that we need from somebody else. And so research is showing that it's not high levels of self-esteem as much as it is self-compassion that is the secret to resilience. It's the secret to being able to have that strength in the face of failure or bouncing back after hard times. And it looks like treating ourselves the way that we would a friend, talking to ourselves in the way that we would if a friend was going through the hard time that we were. Those are the times where it's really important to check in and kind of get our finger on the pulse of how am I talking to myself? And is the way that I'm talking to myself in alignment with how I want to feel right now? And if the answer is no, it might be worth looking at how can I be a little bit more compassionate to myself.
And to circle back to the topic, of course, of us as women as well, we're not always taught to treat ourselves that way, but we
No.
are taught to treat other people that way. We deserve as much grace as we give other people. We deserve as much love and forgiveness and attention.
Absolutely.
And it's really important that we believe and we value ourselves in that way.
So if you're out here, you're a woman, you have all these other maybe identity markers on top of that, and you're here, you're trying to make a difference in this world, you're trying to start this business, et cetera, et cetera. The goal is longevity. It is not hurry up and burn out. So we have to think about what is a sustainable approach to taking care of myself so that I can be successful.
And that is where the topic of self-care comes in. We've all heard, I'm sure we've all heard self-care, right? But let's really talk about what that is and what it looks like and the ways in which we can take care of ourselves. So self-care is ultimately about setting priorities, setting boundaries, and finding purpose. It is a form of self-compassion.
Mhm.
It basically, again, it means valuing ourselves and our health and making it a priority in not only just our lives, but in our day-to-day as well.
Yeah, so one thing that we really emphasize is that self-care isn't just reactionary. It's not, oh my gosh, I'm about to burn out, now I take care of myself. Yes, that's important too. We need reactionary measures for self-care, but we also need preventative measures. We need to think of what do I need to be doing on the regular so that I can keep up and feel good while I'm doing the things that I want to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're looking at, we don't often take care of ourselves enough on a day-to-day basis, and that can really have some long-term effects. So again, it lends itself to the longevity of, yeah, maybe we want to be helping people, we want to be running this business. How are we doing that when we aren't giving ourselves the energy we need to do it, right? We're talking about pouring from that empty cup.
So we have some tips and like things to consider when we're thinking about building self-care routines for ourselves. And that is the first thing, is finding a routine, a ritual, a habit that you can do that is for you, that makes you feel good. And I don't know what that is for you. That's the work that we all as individuals have to do for ourselves. One way that I like to do it is I start all my days with a brief meditation. And some days it's long and some days it might be 2 minutes, but it's taking the intentional time to check in with myself. Where am I at today? What do I need today? And making sure that I have moments that I'm putting my finger on my own pulse to see how I can respond to my needs.
It's like put your mask on before you put it on next to the person next to you.
Yes.
But it truly is just, they're incredibly kind moments to spend with yourself, and an intentional time with yourself is something that I promise you just won't regret. It really lends itself to the ways in which, again, which we see ourselves. And if we see ourselves as important, we want to invest more time into doing so and to making that a reality. So I would even say, like, for me, I love walking my dog. I love taking time in the middle of the day to walk my dog and spend time with him. I love listening to my music full blast on my headphones, even if it's just for like 10 minutes. I love cooking in my kitchen. There are just so many moments where I carve out, those are for me, especially in the work that we do. It is so important that we show up for ourselves so that we can show up and have these conversations with you all.
And self-care isn't always, although it can be, the bubble baths and the glasses of wine and the cookies, and we love that. Trust me, I love that. But sometimes it is doing the hard but necessary things we need to do in order to care for ourselves. And that can show up like setting boundaries that need to be set, or addressing a conflict or something that happened in a relationship that made us feel uncomfortable. But it's about honoring the fact that we have needs and not neglecting them.
Absolutely. There is quite a fine line between self-care and self-neglect. Believe me, I walk that fine line all the time. Do I eat this whole tube of cookie dough? Or do I maybe go for a walk and give that a try first? Maybe I still ended up eating the cookie dough, but I'm trying to weigh out or have the conversations with myself that say, what do I actually need in this moment? And not necessarily what do I want?
Right.
And those can be It's a double-edged sword, yeah.
Absolutely.
So maybe, oh yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's okay. When considering what constitutes self-care, think about how it makes you feel, right? Only you know what's carrying to yourself at the end of the day and what value it brings for you. And so we'd love if you dropped it into the chat, sharing any like favorite forms of self-care that you guys have. But what's gonna happen is we're gonna end with a time where you guys get to experience a little self-care. Hopefully after the siren passes by, because that's not very
Shout out
relaxing.
Chicago. I'm sure you all know.
But do we want to open? Oh, we'll have some time for questions after that.
Yes.
So
yeah. So we're gonna move into. I know this is a lot of conversations, and I want to bring it back to that. These are not conversations that I will even say personally I had until later in my adulthood. Like I'm talking just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is all stuff that I was being raised in a Latinx household. These were not things we talked about then, and even you didn't either.
And it was work hard, play hard. Nobody really, not about how we take care of ourselves. It was just like you work hard, you make your money, and there was not any conversation of how do you want to feel? How are you feeling through all this in those check-in points?
So it was through the community that we've built. It was through the friendships. It was through the hard self work that these conversations came up, and it is difficult. This stuff is really hard work to do. It's a lot of new information, and I found it quite overwhelming at points. So if this is new to you, if you are just starting your journey on self-discovery or even just self-care, we welcome you to just give yourself the kindness and the grace that you deserve. There is no shoulds or I should do this or I should have known or any of that stuff, because I am guilty of shoulding myself.
This is where we also use and emphasize the self-compassion, right?
Absolutely.
We did the best we could with what we knew at the time, and we accept that, and we love those parts of ourselves, and then we acknowledge that as we learn and grow and know more, we can do more.
Yes, but the more we understand ourselves, the more we can invite other people to understand us. It strengthens our relationships. It just, I think, makes for a more peaceful way of living, and that is our hope. Anytime we share this information is that we give you guys an excuse to live your life with a little bit more freedom, a little bit more joy, a little more playfulness, and a whole lot of love.
Yes. So that being said, I invite everybody to get comfy.
Yes.
However that feels good to you. You can sit up, you can lay down. If you've never done meditation before, welcome. It might feel really uncomfortable the first time, especially if we're not often used to sitting in our own bodies and stillness. Today's guided meditation is just going to be focusing on our breath and focusing on finding softness in our body and letting go of the tension that we might be holding. And so get yourself in a comfy position, like I said, whatever that feels good to you. I like to put one hand on my belly, one hand on my heart. If that doesn't feel good to you, you don't have to. You can lay your hands to your sides. If you're sitting, laying down, whatever feels right. But find yourself, get comfy. And we're just going to start by connecting with our breath. So when we're meditating, we want to take a certain type of breath that helps relax the nervous system and calm that activation. And in order to do that, we want to take a deep breath in through our nose. When we breathe out, we blow it out through our mouth. Again, deep breath in through the nose. Exhale, let it go through the mouth. Keep breathing deeply in through your nose and out through your mouth. And if you want, you're welcome to close your eyes. If not, you can soften your gaze. Something that's not moving. And as you take a moment to tune into the rhythm of your own breath, whatever that is for you, feel the rise and fall of your belly and your chest with each breath in and each breath out. Right now, I'm going to extend the invitation for you to let go of the things that are worrying you, to let go of anything that might be weighing heavy on your mind and your heart, just for a moment. I promise they'll be waiting for you when you return. Just give yourself permission to let those things go for a moment and settle into your own body. As you continue to breathe deeply on your next inhale, I would like you to imagine that with each breath in, you're welcoming in warm feelings of relaxation. And as you blow the air out through your mouth, you are mindfully blowing out any tension, any stress, any worry that might pop in your mind. Breathing in warm feelings of relaxation. And out, letting go of any tension. I'm going to take a moment to scan our bodies from the top of our head all the way to our toes and invite in ways to feel a little softer today. Starting with our head and our face. See if there's any place that you can find softness. Let your jaw relax, your eyes to be soft. Maybe unfurl your eyebrows. Allow your face to just be fully relaxed. Take a deep breath in, bringing in those warm feelings of relaxation. And exhale, let go of any tension living in your head and in your neck. Bringing your awareness now to your shoulders and arms. Allow your shoulders to fall away from your ears. Allow your arms to become heavy, whether they're resting on your belly and chest or beside you. Know that you do not have to physically hold them up. All the way in through your fingers, notice if there's anywhere that you're clenching, any ways that you're holding on, and see if you can find softness all the way from your shoulders down to your fingertips. Breathing in warm feelings of relaxation. And exhale, letting any tension go. Allow your attention now to move into these midpoints of your body. See if you can find any softness in your belly and in your chest, especially as you breathe in and out. Allow your chest and belly to rise and fall with ease. No need to hold or constrict in any way. And breathing in warm feelings of relaxation. Exhale, letting it go. And now bringing our awareness into the bottom half of our body, our legs, all the way down to our toes. See if there's anywhere you can soften. Let your quads relax, your calves relax, your shins, all the way into your feet and toes. Allow your legs to become heavy. Let the chair beneath you, the ground beneath you, support you in this moment. Deep breath in through the nose. Exhale, let it go. Take a moment here to scan your body from the top of your head all the way down to your toes. Noticing if there's any last little bit of tension hanging on. Let your breath help move it out. Take a moment to register this feeling that you are experiencing in your body, in your mind, and in your body. Knowing that you can come back to this moment, to this place of softness, to this place of reprieve whenever you need or want. And take a moment to offer yourself some gratitude for doing something kind for yourself today, for doing something kind for your nervous system, for your body, for showing up to this presentation today, to learn how to take better care of your body and your mental health and your well-being. With that, I invite you to bring any gentle movements back into your body that you need. Start to wake yourself back up. You can start to blink your eyes open. Come back into this space. And voila.
You did it.
Hopefully you're feeling just a moment a little softer.
Thank you to Sam for leading us in that meditation. I always love Sam's meditation voice. It'll really do it. But that's just a very small example of the ways that you can take a moment for yourself within a day. Maybe starting even trying like once in a week. But there are so many countless ways to take care of yourself. If meditation doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. There is physical movement. There is so many different forms of art expression. There is journaling. You can bring it back. But the most important piece is that you're carving time for yourself. That you're allowing the day-to-day stressors, all the things that we've talked about thus far, to kind of release for a moment and understand that the most important part of our day is that we make it through it safe and healthy and loved.
And oftentimes when we're really stressed, we think I don't have time to be doing these things. And what I'd like to offer is that when our bodies are working from an activated state, meaning that we're high level of stress, our cortisol is going off, or we're activated, our nervous system is activated, we're actually not as productive. We're not as able to handle stressors as they come up with ease and grace. And so taking the time to tune into our body and helping it remain in a relaxed and open and non-activated state can actually help further our progression in the long run.
Absolutely.
Fun fact.
So, okay. Once again, thank you all for joining us today, for being a part of this. Shout out to you for showing up for you. But we want to leave a little bit of time to open up for questions. Oh, 1 second.
There we go. Okay.
So-
We didn't even see the chat. Okay.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I loved it. I'm like, oh, I needed that meditation. I'm bad at meditating and like consciously doing it, but I like you said, there's so many different methods for everyone. Like I do yoga like 5 days a week almost, and it's
That
like
is meditation.
crying. Like literally the first couple times like I've done it, it's like crying. And I think the thing is all the things you guys have tied in with our culture, right? Like, oh, this is corny. Why am I grabbing my hand? Why am I doing this? And it's like, just can try it. Like in order to do and feel like you're obviously like so many people are like this miserable or unhappy or unfulfilled. And it's like, try something different. Although it sounds silly and it's weird and it's uncomfortable, I'm sure you guys can just maybe share like when you first meditated, how was that? I could not sit still the first time. I was like laughing.
Girl. I tell my clients this all the time. If y'all would have known me as a small child, you would have never thought I could have sat still for 2 minutes. Like I was the most hyperactive, like, and I still am that way in my day-to-day life. So it's funny that meditation has become such a big part of my life. I really value the moments where I can sit with my own self, and the insights I gain in those moments are just really invaluable. I wouldn't go back.
Yeah. And then for me, like I call back the word corny.
Yes.
Straight, like, I mean, these were not concepts, again, that were taught to me. This was not in my household. To me, this was white people woo-woo stuff.
Yeah.
And like, was not, it was weird. It was like not for you. And then so when I started exploring it, it was introduced to me in therapy first and foremost. And I was like, yeah, no, that's corny. I'm not gonna do that. And then I did it like one time. I ended up really crying and having like a full moment myself where I felt frustrated that I couldn't sit with myself. And that since then has kind of, that's the journey I'm currently even still on, that like 5 to 10 minutes for me is where I sit. I would love to like elongate that over time, but it is a really hard practice to do, at least for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything, I mean, I think self-love, it's like, it's hard. It's hard to love yourself. It's easy to love anyone else and give a lot of other people attention, but like when it comes to us, no, you guys did a beautiful job, and I appreciate you guys incorporating a meditation in there because it had been a minute.
Good.
Thank you.
I was like, I'm either gonna grab people or scare them away.
I was kind of falling asleep at the meditation, so that's the
good.
third
That means
option.
your body really needed it. I always tell my clients, I'm like, if you fall asleep, I won't even be mad at you. Your body. I'll just go take a nap now.
Thank you, ladies. That's all I have. I'll let someone else if they have any questions.
Yeah, any questions, comments, whatever you got.
I was just gonna add that I definitely resonate with this conversation because I know for me, I'm a busybody for sure. So this is definitely new for me. I actually have my boyfriend next to me and I made him do it too. And it's like relaxing, enjoying this meditation together. But I did have a question because it came up to me as we were doing the meditation and I've heard you talk about this too in your podcast too. And I wanted to just briefly ask, how do you get rid of the notion of self-shaming or guilt for wanting to take rest? I think that's also a big part of like my culture because we're so I'm so used to, or I've been programmed to like work hard, and the only reward and it's a reward for me to rest, right? But if I don't work hard first beforehand, then
Yeah.
taking time to rest is almost like a waste of time, or like I don't feel like I earned it, which is very interesting. So how would you navigate that notion of self-guilt when you know you need to rest, but at the same time too, you have 1,000 things you need to get done as well?
Okay, I super resonate with this
Yeah.
because literally this week I took a day off. I was reaching my level of burnout. I was fantasizing about taking 2 weeks where I could just hibernate from the world. Like I
And
said,
I literally asked her in the morning because she
Yeah.
was debating going in or not, and I was like, "Is it out of guilt, or that you're feeling that way, or is it because you feel like you probably should go to work?" And and she's like, "No,
No,
I
it's
think
the
it's coming
guilt.
out of guilt."
And so it's those feelings still. I think sometimes people think, oh, you're healed, these feelings don't exist. It's like, no. The stress doesn't stop. Our programming doesn't necessarily poof go away, but it's how we walk ourselves through those moments that are the most important, I think. And I really did sit with myself and I said, do I just feel guilty because I feel like I'm not sick enough to take a day off? Like I have to be like sick or like have a doctor, like have to go the doctor level or whatever. And I just had to walk myself back and say, do you think you're going to be better for it if I take this time for myself? And when I started asking myself the right questions, the answer led to like, I'm really emotionally and physically exhausted. Like I just was. And why isn't that enough? Well, it's not enough because I've been taught that it's enough. But do I believe that? No, I don't believe that. I was taught to believe that. But now when I think about it for me, do I believe that? No, because if I heard my friends say that to me, like lady was like, girl, take the day off.
Yeah. So a lot of it is like reframing for yourself. And for me, sometimes the question thing, having like a little checklist of questions that you ask yourself in those moments. Right now, what am I feeling guilty about? Where is that coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Do I think I will be better in the end for taking the rest I need? What will that allow me to do? Really thinking about like, what does rest allow me to do? It allows me to have more energy to show up. It allows me to have the space to listen to my friends when they talk to me, because maybe I'm so tired that I don't really even have the space for them and I really want to. Thinking about those things, because again, it's like the callback to the way you grew up, and I can resonate with that, and with having parents that they were so tired and so overworked, they really didn't have the space or the energy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that I would have seen the examples of self-care and rest, so that I could have better done that for myself. And now I'm doing the reframe work. So
Yeah, sometimes if I think about it, it's like, what would I want to teach my kids? I don't have kids yet, but like if I did, it kind of helps. Like, how do I actually feel about it? And like that guilt though is hard to shake.
Yeah,
it really is.
No, it really is. But thank you so much for just diving into that, because I think that that's a very common notion for a lot of people. I know for myself, I struggle with that a lot. Like I question that a lot, where it's like, is it worth me taking a day off? And my partner is really good at like relaxing. I feel like that's the best part of our balance, is that he's here to remind me every day,
That's amazing.
like, do you really need to push yourself today, or can we just relax and just take the day off? And I'm like, you're right. We definitely should just take the day off. So yeah.
And you always gotta have a balance. There's
Yes.
gotta be one or the other.
We're usually opposite.
Yeah,
So-
we're balancing each other out all the
That's
time. And
awesome.
it's the way that we will often attract those relationships in our lives. Like you find those people, but that's another thing that lends itself to community, is finding the people around you that kind of like emulate and set examples for the things you would like. So maybe you have a friend that you do like to just sit on the couch and watch movies all day together. And that's, like a nice part of your community you can touch point back to when you need that.
Yeah. I love in the chat, this is I've learned that we can't produce good our best work when we're empty. Yeah. And so that's what we're trying to get at with like the self-care and managing burnout. Like it's not a luxury. It's not even like a thing that you should do. It's actually a necessity. If you really want to make the impact and do it right and do it well in the way that we want to show up, we have to take care of ourselves.
Especially
no
for
one's
us,
gonna do
like,
it for
yeah.
us, especially
Yes.
as women. Like nobody's gonna do it for us as women. Nobody has. We've been the caretakers. So when do we give that back to ourselves? At what point?
Preach.
I sound like a yogi on Headspace. I'm just seeing all of that's so hilarious.
Yeah, as you were talking and doing the whole like walk through the meditation, I was like, I feel like I'm on Headspace. I used to have the app on my phone. And I
That's
was trying
hilarious.
so
I
hard
should
to
start doing
meditate.
some meditation.
No, she
channels.
was like practicing last night, and I was like, if you put your meditation voice on right now, I'm gonna fall asleep. It's so good. I love it.
Thank you. I've had to practice because I'm very bubbly and like my usual teacher, I have to simmer down.
Well, I know we're hitting the end, so thank you guys again for joining us. This has been so much fun, and we love getting to do this stuff. We love getting to have these conversations and host these spaces.
Yes.
And of course, I'm sure that we will see some of you on Friday, and we would love to talk. And if you have more questions, hear that out.
Yeah, we're always a couple things. We are about community, so we are here to collaborate with people, do events. We love it. Like, please ask us if you want to.
Yeah,
we love it. If you are interested or know anybody who may be interested in working with us, we'll pop our info on a slide on our way out. What was I gonna say? And one more thing.
Yeah, that's about it. Check out the podcast. Check out our Instagram. Again, email us, DM us if there's anything. Of course, if we can help, we are always happy to.
Yeah.
And we look forward to talking to you guys again soon.
Podcast recommendation topics. If you're like, I need to know about this, send them our way.
Yeah, we always need topics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, thank you so much to both of you for joining us today. And for the rest of you who are here still, thank you for joining us this evening, taking this hour of your day to join and reflect and think about your mental health. And as mentioned before, I will be sharing on Saturday a follow-up email with all the recap of all the sessions this week. And I'll include information about the self-love team here, their podcast, socials, and also how to connect with them. But have a good rest of your evening, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Get some rest.
Yeah.
Bye.